Hello and welcome. The topic for this session is Clause 4 of Form 3CD. In Clause 4 of Form 3CD, you have to state whether the SSE is liable to pay indirect taxes like excise duty, service tax, sales tax, goods and service tax, customs duty, etc. If yes, please furnish the registration number or GST number or any other identification number allotted for the same. So this is the information that is to be given. Now, what is the observation that is being made by the Taxation Audits Quality Review Board? They observed that registrations under all the indirect tax laws which have been mentioned in the report issued under Companies Auditors Report Order, that is CARO, have not been reported under this clause. That is the observation made. Further, it has been observed by the TAQRB that registration numbers under the indirect tax laws, some of which are based on SSE PAN, did not match with the PAN as reported under clause 3 of form number 3CD. Appropriate reporting of this mismatch was not found under clause 3 of form number 3CA or clause 3 and or clause 5 of form number 3CB, as the case may be. Now, this is the observation that is being made by the Taxation Audits Quality Review Board while reviewing the tax audit reports that have been furnished by various enterprises. What does the guidance note on tax audit under Section 44AB of the Income Tax Act 1961 states with respect to Clause 4 of Form 3CD? Under Clause 4, the auditor is required to examine from appropriate evidence the registration number or any other identification number, if any, allotted in case the SSE is liable to pay indirect taxes like customs duty, excise duty, value added tax, sales tax, goods and service tax, etc. Moreover, for any indirect tax, if multiple registration numbers are available, all such registration numbers should be examined by the tax auditor. Therefore, the question of whether the SSE is liable to pay any of the indirect taxes should be considered and needs to be answered. Part A of Form 3CD generally requires the auditor to give factual details of the SSE. So whatever you are stating in Part A, Clause 4 of Form 3CD is a part of Part A. This Part A, you have to give factual information. Therefore, the auditor is primarily required to furnish the details of registration numbers as provided to him by the SSE. However, the reporting is to be done in a manner or format that has been specified by the e-filing utility in this context. Now, what do you mean by indirect tax? The term indirect tax is neither defined in the Income Tax Act nor under any other law. The levy of different types of indirect taxes on various transactions may differ from state to state. Thus, it is recommended that the auditor should obtain from the SSE the list of indirect taxes applicable to him. Once the auditor obtains this management representation, he is required to obtain a copy of the registration certificates clearly mentioning the registration number under the relevant law. For example, GSTN, state excise, state VAT, etc. It may happen sometimes that the SSE may have multiple registrations for various manufacturing units, service units, branches, godowns, etc. under the same law. Now, in such a circumstances, a copy of all registration certificates is to be obtained from the SSE for appropriate disclosure under this clause. Suppose an indirect law or indirect tax law does not require any registration. In such a case, appropriate identification number is to be reported under this clause. Now, is there any indirect tax law which does not require any registration? Yes. For example, in Customs Act 1962, since there is no registration number, a copy of the Export Import Code, that is IEC code, may be obtained and information is to be furnished accordingly. Now, in these situations, whatever all we have discussed till now, the auditor has to keep in mind the provisions of Standard on Auditing 580. SA 580 deals with written representations because the auditor, as per guidance note, the tax auditor has to obtain what are all the indirect taxes that are applicable to the SSE. This information is to be collected by the tax auditor from the SSE. So the tax auditor is obtaining written representations. Whenever the question of written representations arise, then the auditor has to refer to SA 580, which deals with written representations. In case the auditor is prima facie is of the opinion that any indirect tax law is applicable to the business of the SSE or profession carried on by the SSE, but the SSE does not get himself registered under that indirect tax law, then what the auditor has to do? He has to report the same appropriately. Where he will report in form number 3CA, you have clause 3, or in form number 3CB, you have clause 5, wherein you can give your qualifications or observations. Now, what is the suggestion of a Taxation Audits Quality Review Board in respect of clause 4 of the form number 3CD? It is suggested that the aforementioned observations as well as the requirements of the guidance note on tax audit under section 44AB of the Income Tax Act 1961 should be kept in mind while reporting under this clause 4 of form 3CD. Thanks for watching. See you next time.